It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Alrighty, SKOR North Twins Show. We are back. Way different team from the last time I was sitting here at Target Field. Hello, everyone. My name is Declan Goff. You may have noticed these new fancy banners and background here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Shout out to our guy, Pat Legger. Pat Legger, we don't nuke. Pat Legger, we don't trade. He helps us out. He makes the visuals here at SKOR North happen. You'll see more of these actually throughout our shows, but you might have been recently watching our show and this looks completely different. So yes, hello for our YouTube audience. Very excited that we have these new backgrounds. And maybe you've only recently started listening and watching the SKOR North Twins Show. Thank you to everyone who had us an awesome record-setting week of content here on the SKOR North Twins Show. I really appreciate it. It's awesome and badass to see. It's very validating, honestly, to see that so many people care and wanted to consume those episodes. So if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. You can do that. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. I covered the Twins in a podcast form here. My name is Declan Goff. For the majority of home games, going to the clubhouse, just get some access, get some intel, report back to you guys what I'm hearing, thinking, and whatnot. So this is a fun show. I'm glad you guys like it so much. And I was really excited for this one because the trade deadline happened 8 days ago. The Twins left for Cleveland on Wednesday night on trade deadline eve. And since then, man, a completely different roster. I mean, half of it pretty much is completely different. So just wanted to jump on here and get the thoughts or relay the thoughts from just talking to a few players and hearing what they had to say about those changes. Just trying to also get my teeth into what this Twins team wants to be beyond these trades and beyond, finding their identity after saying goodbye to guys like Carlos Correa and Willie Castro and Harrison Bader, Duran, Jax, all sorts of these guys. So very glad I'm able to be in this position. And here was kind of the vibe I had walking into the clubhouse. It was weird. I haven't covered spring training before. That's something I'm hopefully going to be able to do maybe this next year in 2025. But it felt like spring training. It felt looking around the locker room, number one, trying to figure out where all these new guys are, just kind of give you the lay of the land of what the Twins clubhouse looks like if you have never toured Target Field before or been lucky enough to be inside. It's lockers down the right and left side. There's big couches in the middle. There's a ping pong table. It's a spacious, beautiful locker room. And there is a lot of new faces in that locker room. And, just looking to your left and seeing Pearson Ole and Travis Adams and even Erasmo Ramirez, who now has the corner locker where Carlos Correa had, most because of service time. But it was just interesting walking in there. And, it probably was a benefit that the Twins had these trades happen while they were on the road, because I do think some of that dust and some of the shock has settled. I think some players are still maybe in a processing mode of, what do we have here long term? But I think they have grappled with and have understood the initial moves that took place where, they traded 11 players by deadline day. So I think those players have accepted that, which was interesting to kind of see and look at. The two guys that I think that really stood out to me just talking, by the way, I'll have more roster notes, injury updates to Buxton, Larnick, Christian Vazquez, who is who had a shoulder infection, kind of a weird thing. I'll get to those later on in the show. And I do see your comments here on the YouTube side, so thank you. Talking with Brooks Lee and Luke Keeschall, two guys that are young and dynamic. Keeschall, who's only been up here for 10, 11 games now. He had the broken forearm, missed 3 months. Brooks Lee, who we've seen now for the better part of the last year, but now gets the chance to play shortstop every day. You see these two guys who are still young and a little bit bushy-tailed and wide-eyed that are very, I would say, eager and excited for this opportunity. And that's, I don't believe, a dig necessarily on what the old guard was, but they've kind of accepted that role. And both of them, Keeschall and Brooks Lee, just seem like they're very apt for this opportunity and they're excited for it. They turned, 5 double plays to wrap up a series win against a really good Tigers team. I know there's something lately, but still a really good Tigers team. And those two guys, I think, have a kind of a big excitement about where they can be going forward. Brooks is probably going to play a lot of shortstop. Luke Keyshaw is going to play a lot of second base. I think this is a very important stretch for Brooks Lee at the plate. I don't envision Luke Keyshaw hitting 400 for the rest of his career, or maybe he is, and we're just ready to unearth it. But, Keyshaw mentioned that, pressure is a privilege, which is a famous quote. I know Pablo Lopez used it before the playoff game when the Twins snapped their losing streak. But you can tell Keyshaw's really excited for this opportunity, especially because he missed the 3 months with an injury. But he is very amped up to be here and playing and, batting towards the top lineup of the team that, I think at one point we expected Keyshaw to be that guy, but, he's batting, I believe, 4th tonight to kick things off against the Kansas City Royals. So for Keyshaw, he seems excited. Brooks Lee seems excited. Ryan Jeffers, I feel like, is kind of the not unsung, very much well respected and known about at this point. Kind of the speaker of that clubhouse and the team. He's great with the media. He's not afraid to give his 2 cents. And I think a lot of guys will also lean on Ryan Jeffers and, Byron Buxton, who does things by example. Wasn't able to catch up with Royce Lewis or Pablo Lopez today, who are also guys that I think are probably growing in those leadership positions. But I think a lot of these players have now accepted what has taken place 8 days ago, which kind of then goes into the question of what do we have here in this team? What's the identity? We try to answer that question at the beginning of the year with Trevor Plouffe, who joins us every Tuesday on the SKOR North Twins Show. What's the identity of this team? And even though they traded guys like Castro and Bader, who are certainly have some speed to their game, some athleticism to their game, they parted ways, with Correa, and they parted ways with their entire bullpen, which held them up. This offense was ranks 22nd in baseball at the time of the trade deadline. It wasn't cutting it. The starting pitching itself was very top heavy, right? Pablo, when he has been healthy, Joe Ryan, and then Bailey Ober is kind of obviously having a down year this year. They had to change, I think, some of the philosophy, and they were so stuck in the rut of what they were trying to be. Are they a really good pitching team that has a deep bullpen? I think the deep bullpen part was true, because they traded all the meaningful guys there. But their offense was never consistent or really good enough to justify what they were trying to do. And the Twins were really not good, or not great, I should say, at any of the 3 phases of the game, which are offense, defense, and pitching. Sure, there's parts of their pitching that were good, but their offense was 22nd in baseball. They have a star in Byron Buxton in center field, and Carlos Correa's glove had started to erode, but they're not really slick, and they're not very good defensively. They don't move well on the bases, and it just feels like the Twins made the decision, and it was a drastic one on deadline day, to get younger, to get faster, to get more athletic, and kind of reset things. Look at teams, and I know they're frugal as hell, but look at teams like Tampa Bay. The Rays do this type of stuff all the time, and it gets up, fans get pissed about that because they'd like to keep some of those players together. The Tampa Bay Rays have been to 2 World Series in the last 15 years. The Twins haven't been to one in 30 plus years. I'm going to be 33 in December. They haven't made it my entire lifetime. They have a system that works there. Now, I don't want the Twins to fall into a pattern where they're the 28th payroll in baseball, and any guy gets to arbitration and they immediately have to punt on them. But I do think it was wise for whether it was Falvey, Jeremy Zoll, Rocco even, who's not really going to handle a lot of the player transactions per se, but certainly has a say into the direction this team is going in when he's the manager, that they all 3, I think, had to admit that we have to change what we're trying to do here. And just judging when you look at look at the lineup even today, for example. So this is a Friday. I'm recording this about 5:00 Central Time. Alan Roden, who has some speed and can play some good outfield in the minors, gets a runway here to be your leadoff hitter. Luke Keyshaw, who we've been documenting, who has been phenomenal for you. Royce Lewis, I know has had an up and down season, but is an athletic guy that should be, very good for you also going forward. So if they can figure out ways to lean more into that speed, lean more into being a fast, athletic team, then I certainly think that's kind of their goal of what they were trying to do and trying to accomplish. But that's where I think this organization's going. And they got rid of some of the slower guys. They got rid of some of the contracts that were going to bog them down, and they're going to retool some things here. There's some intriguing pieces with the Twins. I detailed some of those in a previous episode with Mackie and Judd. But yeah, and look, I see this one from Don. Falvey was ordered to rebuild. Deck. Stop trying to change history. That might have been true. Some of those moves financially up top, speaking from the poll ads, those could have taken place. I know Bob Nightingale's reported that. I haven't been able to really get my teeth into that. That's a possibility. But regardless, remove, and it's the elephant in the room, but remove the ownership long term here. The Twins are on track to miss the playoffs for the fourth time in 5 years with the same core. And that was what I was getting at towards even leading up to the deadline, that it was time to try something new. I did not see it being this drastic. And I do think going forward, you're probably going to see even crazier moves this offseason, right? Like, they have a barrage of young hitting prospects that are knocking on the door. Kalen Culpepper is going to potentially be this team's organizational player of the year in the minor leagues. Gabby Gonzalez has had a really solid year. Walker Jenkins is one of the best prospects in baseball. So, we'll, I guess, see kind of how that goes for them in the future. But for right now, that's where the Twins are at going forward. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what all that stuff looks like. I'll have more on that, too, on a full episode of the SKOR North Twins Show, too. Some roster updates here for you. So Christian Vazquez was placed on the injured list. He has a shoulder infection. They're still trying to figure out kind of what took place there. But he's getting his shoulder basically cleaned out and cleared out. It's not a scary situation, but still a surgery and something that he has to get taken care of. What's actually, I think, crazier about this is, it was pointed out to Rocco, this will be the first time, I think, in 3 years, someone will be starting at catcher that's not Ryan Jeffers or Christian Vazquez here in a couple days. Jeffers is behind the plate today. They made a recall on the roster this afternoon to get a second catcher, obviously behind, get behind Ryan Jeffers, who's probably going to do the bulk of the catching. They called up Paredes from AAA. He might get a start. Mickey Gasper might get a start. So you will see eventually someone that's not Ryan Jeffers or Christian Vazquez probably catch here, maybe even at some point this homestand. But I think Jeffers will get the bulk of that time behind the dish. Byron Buxton, not yet quite there from getting ready to be activated from the injured list. However, getting closer. They don't want to activate him when he's not up to full speed, and they want to give him as much runway to be as strong as possible to play the way Byron Buxton is supposed to play. So might happen at the end of this homestand. He's not ready to come off the injured list today on Friday to kick things off. Could be even sometime maybe when they hit the road again. There's only a few home series left for the Twins, actually. They have a big one in September, but a lot of these games too on the road, especially here in the month of August. Trevor Larnach not in the lineup today. He was scratched from the lineup last minute on Wednesday in Detroit. We'll see if maybe he ends up going on the injured list. He clearly wasn't good enough to play in that game on Wednesday, not good enough to be in the starting lineup. I'm not sure if he'll be available to maybe pinch hit on Friday, but little day-to-day decision there potentially with Trevor Larnach. So, yeah, just some kind of roster updates there for you. Edward Julian getting some time at first base here on Friday. They got to keep Luke Keyshaw in the lineup, and I think Keyshaw definitely does profile as an everyday second baseman. He spent some time in center. He has DH'd. He has played some first base, but I think you'll probably see the bulk of that time at second base for the Twins here over the next 6-7 weeks to close out the regular season. And yeah, that dynamic maybe duo that they have in Brooks Lee and Luke Keyshaw, who are turning a bunch of double plays, young guys that are going to be in the middle of the lineup. And Brooks Lee, I think, has to also show he can hit a little bit more consistently. We've seen it at its peak, but he's also been through some stretches too where he's having a tough time scoring up the ball. So very exciting stuff. I'm super excited to be back, obviously, here at Target Field. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Appreciate you guys liking this, hanging out with me on a Friday evening, afternoon. probably I'll be here at the ballpark later on, and we'll have for sure a full episode on Monday, if not one also on Sunday to wrap up the series. This is the SKOR North Twins Show. My name's Declan Goff, and we'll be talking at you soon.